happened in that third quarter? Obviously, pretty much an avalanche. But what did you see happening to your team?
Well, Ant got going, and we decided to go to a bigger lineup with J.K. and Trace, Draymond, Jimmy, just to try to slow them down and slow Ant down. And obviously didn't work. They kept scoring, and we couldn't score. So we just lost our ability to connect the game there in that third quarter, and they got loose, and that was the difference in the game.
Where did you see the main issues defensively tonight?
Well, they went 16 for 34 from three. It felt like there were some in the third quarter where we got disconnected defensively, and they got wide open looks. I also thought they hit some really tough shots as well. They played a great game, and obviously took it to us. And we've got to bounce back. We got a flight to Minneapolis tomorrow and a chance to extend the series, and that's the plan.
Steve, hypothetical, but if Steph on game day said, I feel I can go, I want to give it a try, would he go then, or there's a possibility he would be overruled?
When are we giving the update? Wednesday we'll have an update.
Steve, after taking 26 shots in Game 3, Jimmy only has 9 tonight. What were you seeing from him, what the Wolves are doing defensively, and just how he was playing overall?
Well, he wasn't as aggressive tonight, but I didn't see a lot of openings either. It's ideally we could put more shooting around him to open up the floor a little bit. But with Steph out, we're not going to be able to do as much of that. But with that said, we'll look at the tape and see where we can find some openings for him. And I know he'll be aggressive for Game 5.
Steve, another tough shooting night for Brandon. I know he does other things, but at what point does he just have to make shots for you guys to be successful in this series?
Well, again, it's the series changed with Steph's injury, so everybody's shots are going to be more difficult. There's just Steph's the guy who breaks the defense down for us and creates that offensive flow, and I think the end result is that shots are more difficult for every single guy. So I thought BP played really hard tonight, did some really good things. We pushed the tempo. We scored 60 points in the first half. So we did some good things. We just couldn't sustain it overall.
Do you know yet if Steph's making the trip regardless?
I assume he is, but I haven't asked him.
You mentioned it, and you've kind of alluded to it in a few of your answers, but you go 8 of 27 from 3 tonight. And I know even at the beginning of the year, you guys wanted to be really high volume of threes, and that's with Steph obviously in the mix. But how much of an issue is just the straight volume of attempts right now and the lack of?
Yeah, I mean it's the fact that we're playing some lineups that don't have a ton of spacing by necessity to be able to guard and to be able to hang defensively. There's just not going to be as many openings, and we know that. So we do feel like if we can push the tempo, force some turnovers, we can get some open looks in transition. But without Steph, the game changes, and we have to adapt accordingly, and we're probably not going to take as many threes.
Steve, you obviously saw Anthony Edwards for 6 weeks last summer in practices, not just the games. But how much did you see his three improving the way it obviously has? And how much does that change the equation? I mean, he was always a tough cover, but I imagine now when he's making threes like that, it's very, very difficult.
Yeah, this has been an amazing shooting year for him, shooting as many as he is, I think 10 or 11 per game. That's way up from his first few years in the league. So I think the last couple summers have been great for him with USA Basketball, working out every day with all those guys. And Chris has done a great job with him, with that team. And it's a natural progression for Anthony to be doing what he's doing, given how talented he is and what a good shooter he is. So his threes, obviously, he had some really tough ones tonight, some The one at the end of the first half was incredible. So he's a great player, and that's the challenge. We've got to try to slow him down in Game 5.
One quick follow-up. He said on his ESPN interview that he worked with Steph a lot last summer. How much did you see them interacting in practices?
Yeah, every day, all those guys. That's one of the really fun parts of that whole experience is seeing all these world-class players feed off of each other. And Ant was right in the middle of all that with Steph, with Bam, Book. All those guys would shoot, after practice every day. And but like I said, he was already a great player. But I think the experience probably helped him, and his shooting has dramatically improved, volume-wise, percentage-wise.
Coach, pregame I asked you about possible sidebars that you've had with a few of the players. When it comes to Jimmy, are you asking him to be more aggressive, or do you pretty much appreciate his ability to kind of pass up on his own shot and try to find somebody
I don't have to say a whole lot to Jimmy. We collaborate all the time, and we talk about ideas, and I always feel like he has a great sense for the game, and he does whatever's necessary to win. He's proven that, not only here since we traded for him, but over the years he knows what's needed, and I'm confident that Game 5 he's the ultimate competitor. He'll be ready to roll.
Steve, you guys, I know you like to close halves and quarters a certain way. And at the end of the first half, you guys really had a nice thing going until the very end. And how big, you mentioned Ant's shot, how big was that shot at that time?
Yeah, it was a big shot. I thought the way we defended it was great. I mean, Gary was all over him. Draymond came out to double, and he hits a step back 30-footer. There's not much you can do about that.
Steve, you talked pregame how you were expecting Draymond to bounce back and kind of give you the spark like he did at the start of this game. What did you see from him throughout the game, and how do you expect he's going to go into this next game?
I thought he was great. I thought the way he pushed the tempo, his energy, his approach, his competitiveness, I thought Draymond played a great game.
You mentioned how Steph, obviously, that changes the shots. Does that also, some of the reason or all of the reason why Moody and Quentin have been so hard to get into this series, or how they're basically out of the rotation right now, just because the flow is so different for them?
Yeah, that's part of it. I think, as I said after the Game 1 injury, we've had to sort of reformulate everything to put the best possible two-way lineups on the floor, and it's just the way it's shaken out, and we have to reconsider. Given the result tonight, we've got to look at Game 5 and see if we want to make any lineup changes and rotation changes. But those guys will both be ready. I thought last 4.5 minutes was fantastic. The young guys going out there playing the way they did, forcing Minnesota to keep their starters out there. That's important. It's always important to close games well, and I loved what those guys did, and they all played well, and that matters to me. Looking at what's next for Game 5. Thanks.